Coming up on today's show, we'll preview the Next Gen 2025 tournament and the upcoming Shinagawa show, review Haruna Neko's graduation ceremony, Maki Ito has some upcoming bookings in November, and we now know the full Additional Attack 2-5 card. We'll talk all about that and the press conference that took place. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. To all you big children out there, konnichiwa, and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod. I'm your host, Andy Zeich, and on today's show, we'll talk all about the Next Gen Tournament 2-5. I did end up making a bracket for this. It was a little bit complicated since it is a double elimination tournament, but we'll get into all of that fairly shortly. Haruna Neko also graduated. We have a lot to talk about that show, the TJPW Autumn Victory and Shinagawa show. Really nice ceremony, very bittersweet to say goodbye to Haruna. We'll also talk through some brief news, not as much as the last week. Last week was chock full of news, but there are some interesting stories to dive into. And of course, we'll check in on a couple of graduates as well. But before we get into any of that, a happy October to all of you. Thank you very much for the continued reception to the show. Remember to continue to share it with all of your friends, your family, your fellow wrestling fans. You can subscribe and follow us on social media as we grow. Really grateful for all of the support so far over the initial couple of weeks. I hope that you all are enjoying it. I hope that you all keep tuning in. If you have any suggestions, ideas for the show, any constructive criticism or feedback, I welcome all of it. So thank you so much. Please feel free to get in touch if you want to chat any more about the show. Without any further ado, let's jump into some of our news and announcements. As I mentioned, not too much to dive into this week, but still some interesting stories to cover. The full details for the TJPW Live in Bangkok show have been announced. This is the show that's taking place on December 13th from the Circus Studio in Bangkok, Thailand. Tickets are actually currently on sale for this. There are 12 TJPW wrestlers that will be making the trip. They are Miyu Watanabe, Yuki Kamifuku, Arisu Endo, Shoko Nakajima, Miyu Yamashita, Raku, Pam Harajuku, Suzume, Yuki Arai, Kaya Toribami, Shino Suzuki, and Uda Takami. Really interesting to see Uda Takami announced for this. I don't know if she's done any of the shows outside of Japan yet. Maybe she has. But really cool to see her starting to spread her wings and travel with the rest of the Up girls. I'm hoping that this means that for the next TJPW shows in America, we can get Uda Takami to come with the rest of the Up girls as well and be able to come and perform as a full group for once, because in the past we've really only seen Miyu and Shino and Raku come. So it'd be really neat if Uda is starting to travel a little bit more. In addition to the TJPW girls, there is also going to be Alexis Lee, who I believe is wrestling out of Singapore. She's done some work with TJPW in the past, and Matcha, who wrestles for Setup Thailand, the co-promoter of this TJPW Live in Bangkok show. Both of those ladies will be on this show as well. Earlier on that same day, Setup is actually going to be hosting a small show of their own from the same venue. The same ticket gets you into both of the events, and there's going to be some various talk shows and different things in between both of the events to bridge some of the time. But a really nice day that's come together for this TJPW Live in Bangkok show. Continuing with some of the international flair, the full roster has also been announced for the Love and Peace event. This is the event that's going to be taking place in Malaysia on the 15th of November. We previously knew that all 4 members of the Up girls and Yuki Kamifuku would be wrestling at this event. We now also know that Yuki Arai, Kira Summer, and Mifu Ishida will be joining them as well. This show also has some of the men's wrestlers from DDT. There's also a few Southeast Asian talent who will be wrestling as well. And a little bit interesting, but Marika Kobashi is going to be on this show as well. I'd have to look up the last time Marika was in a TJPW ring, but former graduate Marika Kobashi will be attending and wrestling at the Love and Peace show in Malaysia. I'm curious to see if she will be fighting against any of the current TJPW girls. I would imagine as so, but we'll have to wait to see when this card gets announced and see who Marika's opponent might be for this. Hot off the presses of me recording this today, today is Thursday, TJPW announced that there's going to be a special event that's called Picture Book Reading Pro Wrestling, and this is going to take place at a venue, I use that word very loosely, a venue called Book House Cafe on the 8th of November. I believe it's a bookstore or maybe like a bookstore cafe type of deal. The talent that will be attending this event slash show are Rika Tatsumi, Miyu Watanabe, Raku, Pam Harajuku, Suzume, and Irisu Endo, all of who are going to be selecting a children's picture book and then reading it aloud, followed by a professional wrestling match taking place inside of the bookstore, and then a meet and greet as well. This seems like a very family-friendly event, something very different than a lot of what TJPW has done typically with their wrestling events. The nice thing about this is that part of the ticket prices and part of the proceeds from this event will be donated to a local charity. So a nice cause. It should be a fun event. It should be family-friendly and bring that level of silliness that we are accustomed to with TJPW. We also have some major news as TJPW has announced the full card for the Additional Attack 2-5 show coming up on October 18th in Corcoran Hall. There are a total of 9 matches, including the 3 title matches that were previously announced. Those matches being the Princess of Princess V1 defense for Miyu Watanabe taking on Yuki Aino, the International Princess V1 defense for Irisu Endo taking on Big Al, Alice Crowley. Remember, this is the Battle of the Alices, pick your Alice. The Princess Tag Title V1 defense for Ober Eats taking on the team of Toga and Yuna Manase, who are now going by the name Hot Shots. We'll talk about that when we cover the press conference here momentarily. And then in addition to those 3 matches, we have 3 what's being called here level up trial matches. So 3 level up trial matches, a series of these matches. The matches are going to be Shino Suzuki taking on Miyu Yamashita, Uda Takami taking on Shoko Nakajima, and Haru Kazushiro taking on Mizuki. They seem to be like a little bit of a junior taking on a senior test run here. From what I've been reading online, it sounds like TJPW is using this to, quote, level up some of the younger talent in advance of their return to Ryogoku Kokugikan for Grand Princess next spring. I believe late March for that one. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. I don't know if they're going to be tabulating, say, a total of wins and losses for each of these, but some really tough challenges here. Shino up against Miyu Yamashita is going to be really, really tricky. Uda and Shoka, I think, are going to have an absolute banger. I think there's going to be a lot of high-speed wrestling there. And Haru Kazushiro taking on Mizuki, that might be probably the toughest of all 3 of them. Haru is the youngest member of the TJPW roster, and taking on Mizuki, who is one of the strongest competitors that they have. Really looking forward to these 3 matches. I think this will be an interesting level-up trial series. We'll also get a first-time singles match between Yuki Arai and Hyper Misao. A special 5-way match. There's supposed to be special stipulations attached to this match. We'll see what that's going to be. It hasn't been announced just yet. I believe Mahiro Kiryu will be in this match, so if she is still the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight champion at the time, I would assume that this would also be for the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship. So looking forward to this. This is shaping up to be quite the stacked card for a simple Korakuen Hall show, for not an arena show, but some things to look forward to here. And as of this morning, Thursday morning, we had a press conference where contracts were signed for both the Princess of Princess title match and the Princess Tag title match. Quite the eventful press conference. Usually these press conferences are a little bit more lighthearted. The competitors will sign the contracts, banter with each other, and just kind of speak a little bit about their thoughts heading into the match. But in this press conference, this is probably one of the more eventful press conferences we've seen from TJPW in recent memory. We'll start with the Princess of Princess contract signing. A lot of banter here that probably has to be expected. Miyu Watanabe, our current Princess of Princess champion, always likes to banter with the press in her backstage comments, her opponents. She's always very good about finding a story and engaging her opponents, engaging the audience very, very well. We got quite a bit of that here. What I also really liked, though, was that Miyu started to banter a little bit with Rise Shirai. And that's not something we've seen too often from Rise Shirai. When Shiri Namba was our kind of MC of these events and ring announcer, she used to interact with the talent quite a bit, and Rise Shirai hasn't yet come out of her shell in that capacity, or at least maybe not to the fullest extent. So it was really nice to see Miyu kind of bring her into this press conference. They were bantering back and forth over whether Miyu was a princess or a monster. Par for the course with Miyu, that seems to be the recurring theme amongst her and her opponents of her last few title matches. Rise Shirai ended up leveling out at calling Miyu a princess monster, so a little bit of a cheat, which Miyu was not too happy about. We also had Yuki Aino saying that she is going to burn down the Miyudirella castle. So some quite strong words from the challenger. And then this ultimately ended up somehow in a thumb war, thumb wrestling. Miyu seemed to want to have as many preview matches as possible for this, and there's quite a few that they have scheduled. But she decided to challenge Aino to an impromptu thumb wrestling or finger wrestling contest, which she was way too excited about. Aino actually won this thumb war, so Miyu was quite upset about that her challenge, she was defeated in her challenge. But as with TJPW, you have to have a little bit of fun with these press conferences. But this definitely got me a little bit more excited for this match. There's a preview match that took place during the Haruna Neko graduation show, which we'll talk a little bit about, that also got me quite excited. But I'm really looking forward to this Princess of Princess title match. I think we are up against the tricky situation where it is V1 for Miyu, and the champion typically does not lose the title on V1, especially the main title of the promotion. This match is also taking place within a month after Wrestle Princess 6 and Miyu winning this belt. So the deck is really stacked against Yuki Aino. But that being said, I do think it's going to be a killer match, no matter how predictable it may or may not be. And then we got a contract signing for the Princess Tag titles. Some big news coming out of here. The team of Toga and Yuna Manase have announced that they are being called Hot Shot. This name originated from Toga. Toga actually designed a logo for it as well, which was really cool to see. So Hot Shot is now their team name, and they will be taking on Uber Eats. Toga got quite emotional in this press conference, which is something we don't see often from Toga. She's usually very stoic, but she got very emotional over her fellow generational mate, Wakana, kind of ascending very quickly and winning that tag team title, and almost feeling as if she was passed by Wakana, and that gap between the two of them has grown so considerably. So interesting to see so much emotion from Toga, and I think she'll channel that into a really spirited challenge with Yuna Manase. Speaking of Yuna Manase, another person that got very emotional during this press conference was Yuki Kamifuku, something we also don't see quite often from Yuki Kamifuku. Yuki is very not necessarily standoffish, but she does play that popular girl persona, that a little bit holier than thou type of an attitude, bratty, if you will. But Kamiyu actually got quite emotional speaking about her history with Yuna Manase, how they used to tag together back when Kamiyu was second year into the business, and how she used to look up to Yuna. And so this was almost like a full circle moment for her now that Yuna has a new partner in Toga. A very, very interesting press conference overall. It is available up on YouTube as of today, Thursday. I would encourage you all to go and check it out if you like. I'm sure there'll be some fan translations that will be put up online, but a pretty good press conference, and very different from the press conferences that we typically get from TJPW. And then our last bit of news for today, ticket information has been announced for the annual TJPW January 4th show in Cork and Hall. Typically, I don't discuss the ticket information announcements that TJPW puts out, just because there are so many of them. Obviously, there's one for every show that comes out. And a lot of times it's very granular and it's very in the weeds, but I know that early January is a time where a lot of American wrestling fans or just global wrestling fans go to Japan to take part in that. I forget what they call that week now, but Wrestle Kingdom, which usually takes place, it does take place on January 4th. and then also some of the Stardom shows that are there. It's a very, very big week for wrestling in Japan. So if any of you are planning to go, this TJPW show will take place on January 4th. It is an afternoon show, so typically you are able to attend this show if you would like, and then later in the evening attend Wrestle Kingdom as well. From my understanding, Korakuen Hall is not too far away from the Tokyo Dome. So it is totally possible to go to both of those shows. The Wrestle Universe, if you're a Wrestle Universe subscriber or Wrestle Universe member, there is a pre-sale that takes place. It's actually taking place right now. It started October 2nd through October 6th. The general tickets will go on sale on October 19th. The tickets start as low as about $40, so really nicely priced if you want a good seat at Korakuen Hall to see this show. And the tickets will go all the way up to about $135. These are like special front row seats. There's only a limited capacity of these, but it does come with what they're calling a pamphlet. Maybe it's like a program or some sort of a poster of some sort, but that's signed by all members of the TJPW roster. So for about $135, you can sit front row at Korakuen Hall, get a signed booklet of some sort from every member. And this is usually a very big show for TJPW. They usually have title defenses, including a Princess of Princess title defense. Nothing has been announced yet, but typically this is quite a big show for them. I will say that in the 2025 version of this show, we saw Mizuki defeat Miyu Watanabe to become the new Princess of Princess champion. So this could be a very newsworthy show. So if you are in Japan this week, I would encourage you to go. $40 for the cheapest ticket is quite palatable when you're over there and you want to take in as much wrestling as possible. Actually, you know what? I lied. There is one match that has been announced for this card. It is the annual singles match between Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima. I'm pretty sure they announced this like January 5th every year, the day after this show takes place. But they've wrestled each other now, I think maybe the last 4 or 5 of these shows. There's usually some sort of a zany stipulation attached. So there is one match announced for this card with plenty more still to come. And you know what? I actually lied again. There is one more news story related to Yuki Kamifuku, but we'll cover that in a minute once we get into the event review for Autumn Victory in Shinkiba. Which that's actually a terrific segue into our review section of the show. Let's talk a little bit about this Autumn Victory in Shinkiba show that took place on Saturday, the 27th of September, from the Shinkiba First Ring in Tokyo. This is about a 2-hour show. It was live streamed on Wrestle Universe. It's a very palatable show. The attendance for this show, 284, and boy were they loud basically all night long. This was a great Shinkiba crowd. The last time that TJPW was here was back in June of 2025 for the Sayuri Namba Produce Show, during which they drew exactly 284 people. So perhaps they configure the venue a certain way where 284 is like the maximum. They didn't call this a sellout for this show, but it seems interesting that they would have the exact same number of people there both times. So 284 people in attendance. Toga actually had to withdraw from this show due to illness, so we were unable to see the first preview match for our upcoming Princess Tag Team title match at Additional Attack. Some things were shuffled around a little bit. Nothing too much of consequence on this card, though, with Toga missing it. Toga seemed to be in good spirits at the press conference today, so hopefully it was just a temporary illness for her. We opened up with Rise Shirai giving some remarks and some house rules, and then we had the announcement that Yuki Kamifuku, Kamiyu, has become a full-time TJPW competitor. This was really, really interesting because in the backstage comments at Wrestle Princess 6, I had picked up on Yuki saying that she was technically freelancing with TJPW during her entire time there, and she was almost urging for the powers that be to sign her as a full-time roster member after she won the Princess Tag titles. Well, that is now official. Kamiyu came out to the ring. She compared the situation as if you are in a long-term relationship and you finally decide to get married and move in together, which I guess is a pretty apt and relatable comparison. Backstage, Kamiyu said that she views Sanshiro Takagi like her wrestling father and Tetsuya Kota like her wrestling boss. Kota was right there and in a very funny moment was quick to remind her that he is now her actual boss now that she is a full-time member of the roster. So quite funny. Looking forward to Kamiyu becoming this full-time member. From what I understand, Tetsuya Kota said that really nothing is going to change. It was more of a formality at this point to get her signed full-time as a TJPW roster member. So congrats to Yuki for taking that step and getting married to TJPW. For the Up Up Girls Song Corner, they sang Love You More, which I've learned is not called Love Motto. So my apologies there. I did a little bit of research to see the confusion, and it seems that this song title is a little bit of a mixture of English and Japanese, or different pronunciations, if you will. So it is not love motto, it is the Japanese word moto, meaning more. And instead of love, they're actually saying the Japanese pronunciation for the English phrase love you, which sounds like labu. I don't speak Japanese, so I apologize if I butcher this. Labumoto, which is love you more, labumoto. So love you more is the name of the song. I came to find this out because they actually released a digital download on iTunes and Spotify of this song. So if you want to listen to any of the Up Up Girls songs and stream them, you can do so. There's also a music video for this one, which was pretty cool. I believe this is only the second Up Up Girls song that we've gotten a music video for. So Love You More, it's really growing on me. Labumoto, really growing on me. Not quite stand-up proof of love, but it's getting there. Our first contest was a singles match between Mizuki and Chika Nanase. Fairly simple match here, nothing too much to write home about. Mizuki ends up submitting Chika with a face lock at 7 minutes and 18 seconds. Probably the most interesting part of this match was after it was over, where Rise incorrectly announced the winner as Chika Nanase, and that upset Mizuki quite a bit. She threw a little bit of a tantrum in the ring. Mizuki does get a win here after dropping that Princess of Princess title a few weeks ago. Chika looked alright in defeat heading into the next gen tournament, which we'll talk about in a moment, but overall a fairly simple match. The second contest, another singles match between Hyper Misao and Shino Suzuki. In Misao's pre-match mic performance, she says that she is not in the mood to wrestle after losing the Princess Tag Team titles a few weeks ago. Shino doesn't want her to feel upset, so she proposes something called a Gorgeous Revolution match. Apparently they both love this Japanese comedian named Gorgeous, who dresses as a pirate and makes geography-related jokes. Very specific branding for Gorgeous. The rules of this are a 2-count fall would then require the competitor to locate a country on a globe within 10 seconds, and that is how you would win this contest. Naturally, they already have a pirate hat and an inflatable globe at the ready at ringside. Towards the end of the match, we get back-to-back 2-count falls. Both competitors are given a chance to find Madagascar on the globe. Shino is unsuccessful locating it, but Misao is actually able to find it and puts an end to this insanity at 8 minutes and 32 seconds. I bet you didn't expect a little geography lesson with your wrestling today, but it's TJPW. What more could you ask for? We then saw a tag team match between Uber Eats taking on the team of Raku and Ren Kanatsu. Originally this was supposed to be Toga and Ren Kanatsu, but Raku subs in as Toga got sick. Raku and Ren start this off placing Ren's sheep on Raku's pillow in the middle of the ring, and then they run away and hide, which gives Raku the chance to jump Wakana from behind to start this off. A few Poppo chops to the head from Raku end up leading to a double Oyasumi Express. Eventually Waka is able to go on the attack against Ren, however, leading to Uber Eats controlling most of this match. There was a slight miscommunication spot between the two of them, Wakana and Yuki, where Wakana seems like she was trying to roll out of the way for Yuki to execute this running double dropkick, but she ended up rolling immediately into Yuki's legs, and Yuki, being the professional that she is, was able to just play it into a funny character moment, kind of chastising Wakana as she's done in their post-match comments and entrances and different press conferences and whatnot. Interesting moment. Wakana ultimately wins this match for her team, pinning Ren Kanatsu with her spinning facebuster attack, which she is now calling the Sushi Tornado. Awesome name, love that, at 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Fine first match for the Princess Tag Team Champs here. I think they still need to iron out some of the kinks like we saw in that miscommunication spot, but hopefully that will come the more they end up tagging together and defending their belts. And in the next contest, we had a 6-woman tag team match between the team of Miyu Yamashita, Shoko Nakajima, and Kaya Toribami. Kaya and Miyu continuing to tag here, taking on the team of Yuki Arai, Himawari, and Mifu Ashida. This is a little bit of a preview match for the MLW Featherweight title match that's taking place in Los Angeles on October 4th, just a couple days away here. Kaya and Mifu start us out. They have a nice little sequence. We get a very short Yuki Arai and Shoko Nakajima sequence, which would love to see a little bit more of that pairing together. We ultimately then get the Himawari and Shoko Nakajima preview, which leads to Miyu Yamashita tagging in, and the facial expression on Himawari's face was just utter terror. She was petrified to go up against Miyu Yamashita. Not the type of reaction you'd want to see maybe leading into a major title match in the States from Himawari, but nonetheless, some really fun character work from Himawari. As is most of the case with these six-woman tags, things end up breaking down towards the end. Himawari does show some fighting spirit, attacking Shoko Nakajima outside of the ring once more. Ultimately, though, Shoko is able to pin Mifu Ishida with the Northern Lights suplex at 11 minutes and 15 seconds. Not a super crisp match. There were some elements. It was a little bit rough around the edges. I would say that Shoko Nakajima and Miyu Yamashita looked best in this. Probably not too much of a surprise, but overall, a decent six-woman tag. And in the main event of the evening, even though we did have one more match to come, I'm not sure why TJPW did this, billing this the main event and then having a special tag team match afterwards, but nonetheless, main event match, a six-woman tag team match between the team of Miyu Watanabe, Arisu Endo, and Uda Takami, taking on the team of Yuki Aino, Haru Kazushiro, and Kira Summer. This is our first preview for the Princess of Princess title match at Additional Attack. Arisu received a big call on her intro, a lot of people chanting for her. We started off with a mix of different pairings across these six women. It took us a few minutes before we got to Yuki Aino and Miyu, but boy, when they got in the ring, they held absolutely nothing back. They really were giving you a taste of what's to come, and neither could really get the advantage on either one. It was a very evenly matched segment of this match. Miyu is able to eventually hit a giant swing on Kira Summer, and of course, things break down. Another six-woman tag team match here. Things will always break down towards the end, and we get a really great fiery exchange between Miyu and Yuki Aino. Again, very evenly matched, but between these two exchanges and the, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes that they were in the ring together, maybe 5 minutes, really got me excited for this upcoming title match. Miyu ultimately wins the match for her team, submitting Kira Summer with the reverse paradox. We haven't seen this from Miyu in quite a while. I wonder if this is a little bit of a tell that she's going to bust this out in the Princess of Princess title match against Yuki Aino. So really cool to see her get that submission victory. The time of the match was 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Overall, very solid action, and like I said, this has got me very excited for this upcoming Princess of Princess title match. And then in the real main event of the evening, our final match on the card, we had a special tag team match between Rika Tatsumi and Pam Harajuku, taking on the team of Suzume and Mihiro Kiriao. This is Haruna Neko's retirement match. Unfortunately, as we know, Haruna is unable to participate given her knee injuries, but she did get quite involved, which was nice to see. Haruna comes out with Suzume and Mihiro in her corner. In a really nice moment, they came out to her music, and then they did also announce her. Rise Shirai did announce her, which I think is maybe the first time that Rise Shirai has gotten to announce Haruna, given the injury timing and when Rise came into the company. So really nice to see Haruna get announced one more time. Not to be outdone, Hyper Misao comes out and joins Rika Tatsumi and Pam Harajuku. They come out carrying signs, wearing hard hats, and they have formed a coalition which is called the National Federation to Stop Haruna Neko's Graduation. Really rolls right off the tongue. They come out chanting, "Withdraw your graduation." So quite the stance that they're taking. They ultimately tried to to cancel this match, to put an end to it, but Mihiro is not having any of that. She puts a stop to that, and as the match begins, we immediately get her apology spot for stopping the graduation. Very funny moment. As I mentioned, we do get Neko in the ring a little bit. She was very lightly involved, but she was moving quite well. She was wearing quite a large brace on her right knee, as to be expected. I think she had torn her ACL or torn some sort of a ligament, but she was moving pretty good in the limited amount that they had asked her to do, and I believe she's only, gosh, maybe 4 or 5 months, 6 months tops off of coming off of that injury. So encouraging to see her getting some mobility back. In another funny moment, Mihiro attempts probably the most conservative version of Haruna's catwalk that you'll ever see. She tried to get up on the middle rope and was so afraid and so hesitant. At one point, Rika shakes the ropes, which knocks Mahiro down to the mat, and Rika throws her helmet at her. So not a successful catwalk for Haruna or for Mahiro Kiryu. Haruna ends up getting involved a few more times, actually. At one point, Rika chokes her on the ring apron. Typical Rika Tatsumi behavior. You would think maybe she would take it a little bit easier on someone that was graduating, but then again, maybe Rika wants to show her the door in the most Rika way possible. That led to huge boos for Rika Tatsumi. Haruna also got into a forearm slugfest with Mahiro and Pam Harajuku. It was a nice little moment between three of the ladies who came in around the same time, are somewhat from the same generation. Towards the end of the match, Hyper Misao enters the ring. And keep in mind, she is not a part of the match. She just entered with Rika Tatsumi and Pam. But Misao gets into the ring and basically pours her heart out. She implores Haruna to not retire, saying she knows what it's like to have severe injuries. She actually wanted to have Haruna Neko for the lead in her production of Hype 3 this year, which was really interesting to hear. Not sure if that is true or not, or if maybe something that was Misao was just saying, but that show probably would have looked very different with Haruna Neko in the lead compared to Yuki Aino. Misao ends her speech by handing one of the protest signs to Haruna Neko. Neko absolutely wallops her with it, though, ends up also hitting Rika and Pam as well. Mahiro ultimately gets the win for her team, pinning Pam Harajuku after delivering a spinebuster at 12 minutes and 29 seconds. This was a really fun twist on a graduation match. Typically for these graduation matches, TJPW will do the typical one person versus the entire roster, or maybe some sort of a gauntlet or a battle royal type match. But given Haruna's physical limitations, I thought they did really well with the cards that they were dealt. It was fun, it was funny. There was a little bit of hard hitting action, not too much, with the likes of Palm in there. But Suzumi looked pretty good. Rika, of course, looked good. Mahiro even looked good. And nice to see Haruna get a little bit of physicality in on her way out the door. Overall, really, really fun send-off match for Haruna Neko. After the match, Mahiro gets on the microphone, expresses her love for Haruna Neko, and she promises to defend the Ironman heavy metalweight belt and make Haruna proud. This, in a shocking turn of events, leads to Haruna clawing at Mahiro's face and pinning her for the DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight title. So Haruna Neko becomes your 1,769th Ironman Heavy Metalweight champion. However, she immediately surrenders it back to Mahiro, saying that she was too afraid to defend the belt. She didn't want people coming after her in retirement. She thought that would be much too dangerous. So she immediately surrenders it back to Mahiro, who becomes the 1,770th champion. We then get Haruna's graduation ceremony. Really nice ceremony. She was presented flowers from Shoko Nakajima. Suzume and Mahiro Kiryu gave her some sort of a photo album or some sort of a commemorative book. Neko got on the microphone, thanked everyone for supporting her over the years, all of the fans, the wrestlers, the staff at TJPW. We got the traditional 10-count gong. We got the final call of Haruna's name. An absolute boatload of streamers were tossed into the ring. And then we had a grouped photo, and everybody ended up saying their goodbyes. Really, really nice send-off for Haruna. Very bittersweet to see her go. Haruna debuted with TJPW in November of 2018, and for the entire 7.5-year career, she spent it completely with TJPW. She did have some occasional appearances in DDT or Noah, but most of her career was spent within TJPW. She ends her career as a one-time Ironman heavy metalweight champion, the only championship that she has ever won. She won it 20 seconds before she retired. She frequently would wrestle in the Tokyo Princess Cup, the Max Heart Tag Team Tournament. She never got past the second round in any of those, though, and she ultimately finishes her career with a singles match record of 5 wins and 51 losses, which isn't the best. It's great for an 8.9% winning percentage. But look, Haruna was never the best wrestler on the roster. Haruna played a character that was a cat, and she played that character exceptionally well. And just because she wasn't the best wrestler on the roster doesn't mean she wasn't a good pro wrestler. She knew her character, she knew how to interact with the other wrestlers, she knew how to interact with the audience, and she knew how to interact with even some of the people around, like Tetsuya Koda, Sayuri Namba, she used to interact with quite a bit. So she's somebody that brought some energy. She brought a breath of fresh air with a different type of a character to this roster, and will certainly miss Haruna Neko. She gave some brief backstage comments where she said that she'll be working with an acquaintance outside of the spotlight, so she will not be continuing wrestling even after she rehabs from her knee injury. So all the best to Haruna Neko in her graduation. I hope that we see her around at some shows, maybe in the audience. I don't know if she'll do any sort of guest refereeing like now Kakuta or Himika have done, but even if she just comes and attends or maybe attends future graduation ceremonies, it would be great to see Haruna Neko again in the future. We do also have a event coming up this week, TJPW Autumn Victory in Shinagawa, taking place on October 4th at Club EX in the Shinagawa Prince Hotel in Tokyo. This will not be airing live. Well, actually, it will be airing live. That fresh off the presses yesterday. Originally, this was supposed to be video on demand on Wrestle Universe, and it was going to be posted on Wrestle Universe on Tuesday, October 7th. However, TJPW announced that they are live streaming this on, I believe they're live streaming this on YouTube. They will not be putting up the recording afterwards, so you have to watch it live, and then once the live stream is over, it will disappear. Of course, it will go up on Wrestle Universe a few days later, but they made it very abundantly clear that they will be live streaming this on YouTube from an iPad, which is strange to say the least. Maybe they're testing something. Maybe they just wanted to allow people to watch this live and not have to wait for video on demand, but very odd that they decided to do this last minute. Very odd that they emphasized the fact that it would be on an iPad. Maybe they're afraid of the quality. But this will be like a fixed camera, a fixed iPad camera point of view. So if you do want to watch it live, it will be live. Otherwise, it will come up on Wrestle Universe on Tuesday the 7th. This will be a 7-match card. Shoko Nakajima and Himawari will not be on the card as they will be wrestling in Los Angeles at MLW on this day. We will have our first 2 Next Gen tournament matches, Uda Takami taking on Ren Kanatsu, and then Kira Summer taking on Chika Nanase. We'll also have a 3rd singles match between Raku and Rika Tatsumi, a 6-woman tag team match. The team of Daisy Monkey and Mihiro Kiryu will be taking on the team of Miyu Yamashita, Kaya Toribami, again, those 2 tagging together, and Hyper Misao as their tag team partner. And then we'll finish this with 3 tag matches, Mizuki and Pam Harajuku taking on Uber Eats, Toga and Yuna Manase, Hotshot, taking on the team of Mifu Ishida and Yuki Arai. And then in what I imagine will be the main event, you'll have Yuki Aino and Haru Kazushiro taking on the team of Miyu Watanabe and Shino Suzuki in our second preview match for the Princess of Princess title match. Overall, an interesting card. I'm looking forward to the second preview match. As I mentioned, I'm really starting to get excited for that Princess of Princess title match between Miyu Watanabe and Yuki Aino. That match is going to be pretty good. The next gen tournament matches will be fun as we'll start to see who may be getting some of the early stages and advancing in that tournament. There's going to be a fan meeting after this. This is the event where they host their autumn fan meeting where they're doing like different games and trivia, and this is the bingo event. They're going to be playing bingo. In the past, TJPW has put up like a digest video on YouTube for those fan events. I hope they do that again. It's always fun to see the wrestlers outside of a wrestling ring engaging with their fans and just being themselves, and being human beings and not just wrestlers. So it's always nice to see a little bit of like a peek behind the curtain. And so hopefully they put up a video for this fan event. But speaking of the Next Gen tournament, let's dive into our preview of the Next Gen tournament. I don't think this will be too in-depth. There are only 4 wrestlers, Chika Nanase, Kira Summer, Uda Takami, and Ren Kanatsu. And keeping it real here, this isn't the premier tournament of TJPW. This is the Next Gen tournament. It focuses on the wrestlers who have debuted within the last 1 to 2 years. That's not to say it won't be any good. That's not to say that we'll see bad matches. I'm sure that we'll see a really spirited tournament, especially if the 2-4 version of the tournament is anything to go by. But I don't expect any really long matches. I don't expect any barn burner matches. Would love to be proven wrong. Maybe we'll have some sort of a coming out ceremony for one of these four ladies. But this tournament will have a title shot on the line of the winner's choice. So if you win this tournament, you can pick any of the three TJPW belts and make a challenge for those. Remember, too, it is a double elimination tournament. The first time that TJPW is doing one of these double elimination tournaments, meaning you need to lose twice in order to be officially eliminated from this tournament. That also means as we get to the final match where the winner of the winner's bracket will take on the winner of the loser's bracket. If the loser pins the winner, they will then have to have a second match immediately because the winner would have to theoretically lose twice in order for that loser to win. I know, very complicated, I know. Double elimination tournaments and winners brackets, losers brackets are not the most fluid. So I hope that TJPW puts out some sort of a graphic or something. They're very good about sharing tournament brackets and tournament bracket graphics. So hopefully they'll share something that can kind of crystallize this a little bit more. But a double elimination tournament, I'm really excited to see how this goes, and hopefully it goes well for TJPW. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about each of the four competitors in this tournament. We'll start with Chika Nanase. Chika Nanase has had a bit of a mid-level year. TJPW hasn't done too much with her. She did lose in the Tokyo Princess Cup qualifier tournament in the first round. She also lost in the first round of the Max Heart tournament. She doesn't really have a major victory this year. She does have a little bit of history with Kira Summer. From what I understand, they are like real life friends and have some good chemistry together, spend a lot of time together outside of work and outside of wrestling. So maybe that plays a factor here. In my little kind of simulation that I did, which I'll talk about my bracket in a moment, I kind of have that storyline taking effect. Last year in the 2-4 tournament, Chika Nanase also lost in the first round. I could potentially see Chika winning this tournament. Maybe she would win and then challenge for the Princess Tag Team belts with perhaps Kira Summer. I know she doesn't really have an official tag team partner, but maybe they play into the relationship with her and Kira. Although I will say that is how the 2024 version of the tournament ended, where Haru Kazushiro beat Toga and then decided to challenge for the tag team titles alongside Toga. So might be a little odd to do the same storyline in back-to-back years. Moving on to Kira Summer. Kira Summer's had somewhat of a similar year to Chika Nanase. She has also lost in the first round of the Tokyo Princess Cup qualifier tournament. She also lost in the first round of the Max Heart tournament this year. I believe she teamed with Ivy Steele. She too doesn't really have a major victory this year. She does have that history with Chika, like we mentioned. But the interesting thing about Kira is that in last year's 2024 Next Gen tournament, she ended up making it to the semifinals and was one win away from going to the finals of that tournament, but ultimately ended up losing. So I think maybe that's a sign for Kira. She did go the farthest in last year's tournament. Maybe she wins this. Maybe she challenges for the Princess Tag Team titles with someone like Chika Nanase. Or if we're being a little ambitious, maybe she challenges Arisu Endo, assuming Arisu retains her belt against Alice Crowley in the Battle of the Alices, and we get an International Princess title match. I think that would be interesting to see. Then we have Uda Takami. Uda, similar boat to both Chika and Kira, lost her Tokyo Princess Cup qualifier match in the first round of that tournament, or in that qualifier tournament. She also lost in the first round of the Max Heart Tag Tournament. She was teaming with Miyu Watanabe. For those of you that have been watching TJPW since that tournament, that's the wonderful match against Max the Impaler and Palm, where Max absolutely threw Uda around like she was a stuffed animal. The visuals and the photographs of that match are incredible. Go check it out if you haven't seen it from the Max Heart Tournament 2025. In last year's 2024 Next Gen tournament, Uda Takami lost in the first round. However, the really interesting thing about Uda Takami is that she has quite a lot of momentum on her side this year. We talked about Kira and Chika not really having signature wins. Uda has a couple of them. We know at Wrestle Princess 6 just a few weeks ago, she was able to tap out Ren Kanatsu with the Koala Clutch in the opening match. And then she also participated back in April in the International Princess Number One Contenders Tournament. This was a tournament that took place in Japan while a lot of the roster was in Las Vegas at the TJPW Live in Las Vegas show. And while she didn't win that tournament, Himawari ultimately went on to win that tournament and challenge Suzume. But she did make it all the way into the finals of that tournament, and she lost to Himawari, and along the way she got a pretty big victory as well. So a lot of momentum that Uda is riding throughout this year. Uda is my pick to win this thing. I think that she could win this. Maybe we get a princess tag team challenge where she will take maybe like Shino Suzuki, someone from the Up Up Girls, and challenge against the team of Uber Eats should they remain champions coming out of Additional Attack. Or, again, if we're getting ambitious, maybe she goes for the International Princess title. We know that she was one win away back in April from qualifying to be the number one contender. Maybe they pull the trigger here, and maybe Uda gets kind of the moment of her young career where she goes on to face potentially Arisu Endo if she's able to defend her title. I think that would be a terrific match that they can put really almost anywhere. I don't think you would wait until the January 4th show. That might be a little far away, but perhaps sometime in the fall or in the early winter, we could see that match. I think that would be a really high-speed match. I think that would be a lot of fun. So Uda Takami is my pick, but we'll go through my bracket in just a moment. And then the final competitor in the tournament, Ren Kanatsu. Ren, this is the toughest one to make the case for. She is the not the youngest, but the most junior member of the roster, only debuting this year, 2025. She doesn't have any major victories since she debuted. In fact, I don't think she has any victories at all. She actually doesn't even have a page on Cage Match, so that might tell you all you need to know in terms of how new to the business that Ren Kanatsu is. Maybe she wins this and could challenge for the Princess Tag titles with somebody like, say, Suzume. She's been teaming with Suzume quite a bit, but be a little awkward with Suzume being in Daisy Monkey. I don't know. I think if you pick Ren Kanatsu to win this, it's an ambitious pick. Maybe you're playing spoiler if you're in some sort of a bracket pool. I can't imagine you're in a bracket pool for this, but if you are, maybe you want to play the wild card and pick Ren Kanatsu. But for me, making a case for Ren to win this is the toughest of the four. I'll briefly run through my picks and my bracket. I don't know if this will be too confusing with the double elimination format. Perhaps I have a visual of it. I'll post it onto Twitter and social media. But in the initial matches, I have Uda Takami beating Ren Kanatsu, and then I have Chika Nanase beating Kira Summer. So Uda and Chika proceed in the winners bracket. Ren and Kira fall down into the losers bracket. And in that first match of the losers bracket, I have Kira Summer beating Ren Kanatsu, giving Ren her second loss of the tournament and eliminating her from the tournament. Then back up in the winners bracket, Uda Takami taking on Chika Nanase. I have Uda Takami winning that as well. So Uda going 2-0 in her first two matches, pushing Chika Nanase down into the losers bracket, which would set up a rematch between Kira Summer and Chika Nanase. I think that they could have this storyline between these two ladies throughout this tournament. I then would pick Kira Summer to get her win, stay alive in the losers bracket, ultimately giving Chika Nanase her second loss and eliminating her from this tournament. All of that would then set up a finals of Uda Takami, who would have 2 wins and 0 losses at this point, and Kira Summer, who would have 2 wins and 1 loss at this point. The losses are more important than the victories, really. I think if TJPW wants to be smart and maximize this tournament to the fullest extent, I think you have Kira win this, giving Uda Takami her first loss of the tournament, setting up that sudden death winner-take-all match immediately following that Uda Takami and Kira Summer. That's really a coin flip. I'm going to go with Uda Takami just because I think she has the most momentum. I would love to see Uda win this match, but I could really make a strong case for Kira Summer having this come from behind victory, if you will, running through the losers tournament, or the losers side of the bracket rather, and then beating Uda Takami in that final match, winner take all. I could be completely wrong here. I could be giving the worst possible bracket advice, but no matter what, this is going to be a fun tournament. I'm really excited to see Uda hopefully ride that wave of momentum, Kira ride some of the momentum she had from last year's tournament, and I would also really interested in seeing Chika and Ren grow in this tournament. Hopefully Ren doesn't go 0-2, but I think if anybody does lose both matches right out of the gate, it's probably Ren. But this tournament will begin on the October 4th show, and it will be taking place across 4 shows: October 4th, October 12th, October 19th, and then October 26th. So by the end of the month, we'll know who is the winner of this tournament, and we'll probably know what they're going to be challenging for as well. Let me know who you guys think is going to win this. Feel free to either email us, send a message on social media, tweet us, whatever. Let us know who you think will win the Next Gen Tournament 2-5. And going from the rookies and the sophomores of TJPW all the way now to the graduates of TJPW, a quick little graduate check-in. Not too much news here, but Maki Ito did announce, or rather GCW announced, that Maki is booked on 4 upcoming GCW shows in the month of November. November 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then November 22nd as well. And these are all throughout the United States, so really nice to see Maki getting some bookings finally. I hope that continues. I hope we see a lot more of Maki Ito. There is quite a gap there between the November 9th and the November 22nd show. I wonder if she'll go back to Japan, or maybe she'll stick around in America and try to get some other bookings. Maybe we'll see her pop up on AEW. That's wishful thinking, but hopefully Maki is able to capitalize a little bit here and get some more bookings and appearances under her belt. A congratulations to Sayuri Namba, who celebrated 3 months in Canada. I feel like Sayuri Namba just left TJPW and announced that she was moving to Canada, but I guess that was back in June or July, and I mean, here we are, and it's already October, which is wild. But Sayuri Namba, congratulations on a successful 3 months in Canada. She celebrated by having an Instagram live stream, which I believe is still up on her page if you want to go check it out. It's mostly in Japanese, but she basically just answers some questions and hangs out with people for about an hour. But congrats, Sayuri Namba. Looking forward to your next vlog. Mina Shirakawa, also back in our graduate section here. Mina Shirakawa last week had an AEW Women's title match. This week, she defended her Ring of Honor Interim Women's World TV title. My gosh, say that's a mouthful. Say that 5 times fast. She defended her Women's World TV title against Lacey Lane on the September 25th edition of Ring of Honor Honor Club. I haven't had a chance to check this out, but if you are a fan of Mina Shirakawa and you do enjoy Ring of Honor, feel free to watch that one. We also have Yu defending her Sendai Girls tag team title with her tag team partner Chihiro Hashimoto, team 200 kilograms. They beat the team of Minami and Ryu Mizunami, Aniki, who frequently comes to TJPW as well, on the September 27th episode or show from Sendai Girls. Yu, as we know, is going to be coming into TJPW, or rather returning to TJPW. I believe it's in November for the next Inspiration show. A little bit of a full circle final TJPW moment for Yu before she retires I think she's retiring in December of this year. So we'll see Yu a little bit, and we'll talk more about Yu as we get closer into the fall and we see that final TJPW match. And then we have 2 quick excursions to talk about. MLW Slaughterhouse on this weekend, Saturday, October 4th in Los Angeles, will have an MLW featherweight title match between the champion, Shoko Nakajima, taking on another TJPW roster member in Himawari. So I'm really excited to see that. Himawari is personal favorite here of the podcast. She's had a pretty strong year with some different victories. She was just recently put into that major special singles match against Aja Kong. So hopefully we see some sort of a spirited performance from Himawari. I don't expect her to win this belt, but would be really, really cool if she does. I'm still undecided if I'm going to be attending this show or not. If you guys are in the LA area and you will be going to this, drop me a line and let me know. Maybe I'll see you there. And then we also have an excursion with Kaya Toribami. This was something I missed last week, but Kaya Toribami, it was announced that she will be wrestling in a company called VIP Wrestling, which is located in Dallas, Texas. And her match will be on October 10th, so about a week or so away. She's going to be fighting Vert Vixen and Maya World in a 3-way match for, I think it's their women's championship, the VIP Women's Championship. I'm not sure what it's called, but interesting to see Kaya Toribami. I know that Kaya has done some excursions in the past. It's been a minute, But we didn't get Kaya on any of the TJPW American shows, but I know that she has wrestled in America previously for some other independent companies. So exciting to see this. I'll check out and see maybe how this can be streamed, and I'll share that information with you all next week. And with all that being said, so much covered on today's show. That brings us to the end of episode 3. Grab your cold spray and your ice packs. I'm going to grab some lunch because my stomach is rumbling. On next week's show, we'll review the Shinagawa event where we'll know the first results of the Next Gen tournament. I'll see if I can find any information on the fan event happening afterwards, too. And I also want to check out that Rika Tatsumi birthday party event on Tuesday. That seems like it'll be a lot of fun. We'll also preview Autumn Victory in Shinjuku Volume 1 happening on October 12th. And before we know it, Additional Attack 2-5 will be upon us. So get excited, get ready for that. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot us an email. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning. Stay magical, my friends. And we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.